Welcome back to the Memory Show, the show where I get traumatized for the entertainment of others. I've been so excited to talk horror on the channel, and what a time to be a horror fan with absolute bangers coming out recently, such as Weapons, Sinners, and that one. But while horror has been popping off recently, the new kid on the block, Cory Barker, just released an instant classic in Obsession that might have just changed horror forever. It's personally the horror movie I've been waiting for years, and it's brought something back to the genre that I've felt has been lacking over the last few years. It's actually scary. And not just that, I think it's frightening.
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did. You coward.
Obsession has took over the world with everyone talking about it. Many people calling it one of the scariest movies they've ever seen. Word of mouth has propelled Obsession into one of the most successful movies ever made. It was made with a budget of $750,000 and has just surpassed the 100 million mark at the box office. To put that into perspective more about how good it's doing, usually films drop off between 40 to 60% each week, as most people who are gonna see the movie watch it in the first week of its releasing. Obsession, on the other hand, grew by 40% in its second weekend and has just grown a further 10% in its third weekend. That is insane, because when you compare it to the first Star Wars movie to release in 7 years, that dropped by 69% in its second week. And that just shows you how much of an impact Obsession is having on people. And many people who are talking about it don't actually know or can't explain why they're so scared. And that's where I'm going to try and explain why that is, because this film includes some of my favourite horror elements. Minor spoiler warning if you're planning on watching Obsession. So the premise of this film is that these two friends are in a friend group of 4, and this guy Beer has had a crush on this girl Nikki for years. He's finally built up the courage to make his move and finds himself driving Nikki home one night from a bar. They get to her house and he fumbles completely. She even catches on and outright asks him if he likes her. Again, this guy cracks under no pressure and fumbles, saying no, they're just friends. A few minutes before this scene, Beer buys this old antique called a one-wish willow, a piece of a branch from a willow tree that is supposed to grant you one wish. He thinks it'll be a nice gift for Nikki, but forgets to give it her, so makes the wish that she loves him more than anything in the world. And that's it. Everything I just explained happened in the first 10 minutes, and from then on it's a downward spiral of dread. You know that really annoying trope in a lot of horror movies where something scary happens in the first couple minutes to get us interested, and then the next 45 minutes is filled with backstory and the main characters slowly learning about the threat, with brief scary scenes throughout where they encounter the ghost or demon or whatever. Yeah, that's not scary anymore, because I've seen that film 50 times. Oh, you've moved into a new house with your family and it's haunted, and the demon's possessing the kids. That's scary. No, it's not. All I'm saying is that's what makes Obsession so refreshing, because it doesn't waste your time, and when it gets going, it doesn't stop. The director of Obsession is Cory Barker, who is half of the That's a Bad Idea duo on YouTube, where he grew an audience making skits and short films such as Milk and Cereal, a found footage horror film he uploaded to YouTube in 2024. This is this guy's first theatrical release, and he couldn't have made a better debut on the big screen, or better casting choices for that matter, because Inde Navarrete and Michael Johnston are amazing. I'll quickly talk Michael, who plays Beer, because not enough people are talking about this guy's perfect portrayal of a harmless, what we assume to be nice guy whose terror actually feels realistic. I love this one scene where Nikki's going crazy and he's just slumped in his seat with a blank face, just completely done with what's going on. It's a great bit of dark comedy. However, this guy was amazing, and he's still overshadowed because of how good Inde was. Without her, this film seriously wouldn't stick with you half as much. The violent sudden screams her voice could perform, matched with her physical performance, was some of the best I've ever seen in a horror film. The way she could perfectly hold an unsettling face while the camera lingered on her was amazing. There was this one moment where she made a face and my audience laughed, and then the camera stayed on her and the laughs got quieter and more nervous because of how freaky she looked. And this is where I'll talk about what I think has really made people walk out the cinema feeling so uncomfortable, because of how uncanny valley Inde's performance is. If you don't know, uncanny valley is where something looks or acts humanoid, but something is just a bit off. At first glance it's normal, but when you look closer you gain a feeling of uneasiness to something that is almost human. Uncanny valley scares me like nothing else, and one of my favourite horror anything that I've ever watched is the Mandela Catalogue series on YouTube. Made by Alex Kister, he creates a world where there are these skin-walking creatures who may resemble your friends, family, maybe even you, but something is slightly off about them. Their smile is too wide, the way they move is weird, almost inhuman, their voice is distorted and poorly mimicked.
I have a gift for you. I have a present.
I think the uncanny valley needs to be explored more in horror, as I believe this is where so much new terror can be found in the horror space.
I think that the scariest monster would be something that looks like your mom, but isn't. Right. Something that looks like your dad, but isn't. Something that looks like your friend, but isn't. Or you. If I turned right now and just saw, like, a Uncanny Valley version of Brooke, that would be less scary than if I turned and just saw me just standing there. You know how scary that would be?
Those of you that have seen Obsession, do you remember how weird Nikki looked in the bedroom scene? The second time I watched it, I went with my mate and he whispered in my ear, is that a different actor? Why does she look like that? The first time I watched it, I thought the same thing. I remember thinking something is off and I don't know what. And that was worse than a jump scare because I had to sit in that feeling. And that's why I can't wait to see what Corey Barker cooks up next, because this guy gets it.
I'm trying to move in a direction that isn't your traditional demon where like you've got the dark eyes and the sharp teeth, but more like how close can you be to human without being human anymore? And that's kind of what you're trying to capture on camera, is
It's
like
unsettling.
she's a person and she's moving like a person, but something is just not quite right. Like the human is weird. The modern jump scare is if you can get your audience to go, I didn't like that. That felt weird. You know what I mean?
Like I said earlier, Obsession doesn't take long to get going, giving us so much time to be dragged through hell. I've never experienced dread like this in my life. Every single time Nikki was on screen, I was actually frightened by her and what she was going to do next. Even in scenes like the car scene. I knew something was coming, everyone knew something was coming, but you didn't know how and you didn't know when. And when it came, oh, you knew about it. The second time I went to watch it with my boy Kieran, someone jumped so hard, they kicked me in the back. Quick shout out to Kieran, I've never seen a man so upset watching a film in my life. Bro, I'm sorry. I look at films like Sinister and Hereditary, good films that everyone finds scary, and yeah, I find them scary too, but how many times can you watch them before it dilutes the scares? Obsession is the only horror movie I've ever watched that has cut this deep, that has made me genuinely lose sleep. And that's because this film uses some of the most popular fears people have and pokes them with it till they can't take it anymore. Whether it's someone watching you sleep, being trapped in your own body, or looking a loved one in the eyes to find out they aren't there. Or maybe, while you're in bed, alone, in the dark, maybe your wardrobe's open a crack and you think, just for a second, at a certain angle, you can see what looks like. Is that? Is someone there? 10 out of 10, I'm sleeping with the lights on.